the City of New Britain. Building hope together for a greater community.
Good evening, February 8th, 2017. This is the public participation for the regular session of the New Britain Common Council. I have a list of people here. We want to keep in mind that we do have a 3-minute time limit. If you have not signed up, then we certainly will allow you to be able to do so afterwards. Good evening to everyone. The first person, we're beginning exactly at 7:01 p.m. The first person, and if I do not state your name properly ahead of time, I apologize. Pamela Bianca. Well, we can turn her around then. That's okay, fine. Reverend David Santiago. Please be sure to state your name and their address when you all come up to speak. Thank you.
Reverend David Santiago, 893 Corbin Avenue. I am the senior pastor of Triumphant Church, and I'm here to voice some concerns that Triumphant Church has with the proposed project for 266-270 Arch. Triumphant Church is the immediate prior owner of said property. We sold 232 Arch and 266 Arch to the city with the understanding that both properties were then going to be sold to Veterans Inc. for the development of the nation's first Veterans Homeless Center for Women. Unfortunately, the city did not honor that understanding. Veterans Inc. pursued an alternative project, and as a result, Triumphant Church continues to suffer negative consequences. Those were explained last night. Last night, Alderman Rosado from Ward 2 suggested that this council should not be held accountable for what happened in the past. I don't know if that is the consensus of the Common Council. I do know that by bringing this resolution forward with no attempt to have a conversation with Triumphant Church, this Common Council and the mayor own this and indeed are accountable for it. This is not something that happened a long time ago. This is something that is happening right now before our eyes. Yes, it began years ago, but it's climaxing this evening with this Common Council and this mayor. The decisions we make today absolutely have consequences for tomorrow. Norman Cousins, the famous peace advocate, said wisdom consists of anticipation of consequences. And Triumphant Church is trying to anticipate the consequences of this project, seemingly to no avail. Let the record state that we're interested in being part of the solution once these issues have been resolved. In the meantime, some of our concerns include, number one, the developer's financial position. Last night we heard the developer state that he is hopeful to find funding. Number two, parking. The lot to the rear of the property is 4,720 square feet. This is barely enough room for 11 parking spots. The city code calls for 1 parking spot per dwelling. They're 9 short. To further complicate matters, there is a right to pass and repass on foot and with vehicle over and upon a strip of land. I am quoting from an easement that, a right of way that is registered downstairs that cannot be blocked. They don't have parking for this project. And number three, cooperation. If the proposed project mirrors the development of 232, the probability of another turf war is great since the same players are involved. Ken Malinowski, Municipal Development, the Common Council, the Mayor, and Triumphant Church. We feel we have some very strong concerns that merit investigation, so we hope that you take this under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take the liberty to call Pamela Bianca back, if it's possible.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Bianca, and I presently reside at 55 Kilbourne Avenue. My husband and I come before you to hope that we can purchase the land next to our home, 65 Kilbourne Avenue. We built our house on 55 Kilbourne Avenue 15 years ago, and it now has become a little too large for us, and we really would like to downsize. If you know 55, you know it's a well-built house, you know it has enhanced the neighborhood, and we hope to do the same next door. We both want to retire here. We've been married since 1970 here in this town. We consider ourselves New Britonites. My husband was born and raised here. My children were both born here. And though I grew up in Old Saybrook, I now consider myself someone who is from New Britain. And you can ask anybody and they'll tell you. So I hope you favorably look upon us and let us purchase this land and build a new home for our retirement. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. No. I'm not sure the last name, maybe Yvetta Lanier. If please, be sure to let me know I'm wrong.
Yvetta Lanier, 370 High Street, New Britain. I have resided in New Britain off and on for over 15 years. I went to college at CCSU. I raised my son here. He's gone to school here. And last night I was appalled at some of the things I heard in regards to the issue with Arch Street and the relocation and what they're doing to a building next to the church that I attend. Last night the alderman did state, and I quote, "As a minister, I can say it is not the first time this happens to a church. My church was promised things by the previous administration. We got screwed." Unprofessional, but did get the point across, and I don't want to see that happen to my church. It seems to me like there isn't much accountability for what the city does after all, and I feel as a tax-paying voter that there should be some accountability. Even though the evidence is clear, there's going to be pushback. I'm proud that my pastor has the guts to stand up to an administration that seems to think of us as something to be brushed aside. We are not fighting for Triumphant Church. We are fighting for every other church, nonprofit organization, who in no doubt will be caught in the crosshairs. We want to be the last church that this city treats with disrespect. And I hope this common council sees the gravity of this matter. New Britain, as it's trying to develop, it truly, truly depends on it. We just ask that we be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Abraham Hernandez.
Good evening, Abraham Hernandez. I live at 247 Felt Road. Recently moved out of New Britain, but I am a member of the Triumphant Church. And I can't understand why the church has been left out of the loop. Last night, two things came up: diversity and Latino barrio. Those two ideas do not go together. You can't celebrate diversity while excluding one or more groups. Although Triumphant Church was the first Latino church incorporated in the city, and although it was the first Latino church to own property in the city, we resist even the appearance of segregation. We don't identify with the Latino barrio mentality. Our street is made of people from all walks of life. At Triumphant, the rich, the poor, the black, the white, the brown, the religious, and the secular come together as one people. If the city leaders truly celebrate diversity, Triumphant Church must be part of the conversation, especially as it relates to Arch Street. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Corey Abramczyk. And I'm not sure if it's Corey or Lori. I apologize.
Corey Abramczyk, 437 Chestnut Street in New Britain. Last night at the zoning meeting, the minority leader motioned to table this resolution to allow for a conversation between the city and Triumphant Church. Not one alderman seconded the motion. I have 3 questions for you all. What's the rush? Who is pushing this at all costs? And why are you disregarding Triumphant Church, an organization that's been on our street for over 42 years? Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Bruno.
Good evening. Mike Bruno, 23 Walker Road, New Britain. I'm a member of Triumphant Church, and since our dealings with the city, we've had major problems with safety and security. I've suggested that we fence up the entire area, but the pastor does not want to because he's not interested in dividing up the neighborhood. But we have high foot traffic through our property, and some of the people who cut through are very hostile and confrontational. We want to be good neighbors, but our property is getting destroyed in the process. If you don't talk to us, we're going to have to fence up and lock everything around the surrounding building. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Bianca.
Bianca, 55 Kilbourne Avenue. I really don't have much to add to what Pam said, except that we would appreciate your kind consideration in the sale of this property. We've been attempting to buy it for quite some time now. We just want to build our retirement home and live out our years there. Thank you.
Thank you. Damaris Velez.
Hi, good evening. My name is Damaris Velez. I reside at 11 Uncas Road here in New Britain, and I am the vice chair of the New Britain Latino Coalition, and all I want to say is that I'm in favor of the project at 266 Arch Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Reyes.
Good evening. My name is Richard Reyes. I'm live on 508 Slater Road. I'm here as a member of the Latino Coalition, at which I am the education chairman for the subcommittee. And I'm here just to say that I am in favor of renovating the 266 Arch Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Rutkowska.
Thank you, lady and gentlemen. My name is Sylvia Rutkowska. My business address is 148 Broad Street in Middletown. I am the attorney that is representing Triumphant Church, who you've heard a lot from today and yesterday and plenty of other days before. As a side note, I would like to just comment that I was raised in New Britain. My family still lives in New Britain, so I have a very much personal interest in how this city responds to this particular issue and what precedent it sends from this decision that it's going to make. Now, I'm not going to reiterate what's already been said by many people, as I'm sure you've seen in my letter that was addressed to you yesterday. The city approached the church sometime before 2011 under specific circumstances and for a specific and sole purpose. There was a clear intent in that purpose, and that was exactly the decision and the agreement that was made with the church. This was not just a promise. Not just a promise at all, much less not just a promise that could be broken. This was not just politics. This was not a conversation that was had in some side room that changes with administrations, that comes and goes with the flow. This was an agreement, a detailed, specific, long negotiated, thought out agreement under those specific terms. This was not just two individuals coming together and having a conversation. These were two individuals that were representing two legal entities, the city and the church. And what they did served and binded the both of them. These are not just words. The church gave up something. They gave up two properties in reliance on those promises made to the city. And therefore, that promise is enforceable. I do want to clear up some things. As I know you've heard from your council, there is a purchase and sale agreement and a deed that is simple, to put it lightly. And I understand that your city council either has or will advise you at some point later that you should stick with that agreement, and that agreement is all that matters. But I would also trust that your city council will advise you that the law is not always limited to the black and white letters on the paper. The law accommodates for things like fairness, and it's what we call equity. And your attorney should also advise you that there are also specific causes of actions to address these kinds of issues, including one called reformation of a deed to incorporate exactly the kind of intents that were in this agreement. Now, there's different ways that the city can go about this, but I want to clarify something. If the city chooses to go forward on this particular issue, this church will have no choice but to litigate the matter in court. Now, let's talk about what that means and the reality of that. Not only will the city have to deal with the litigation, but I will also file a lis pendens on the land records. Now, presumably the nonprofit that's looking to purchase this building will want to get some sort of financing, as well as potentially title insurance on this property. That will effectively prevent them from doing this. Now, I understand the city wants to move forward on this, but I suggest to you that once I file litigation, the process will be anything but quick. So I urge you to really consider that. Now, the good thing is the church or the city has an option. As an option to be fair, do the right thing, and honor its words to the church. Thank you.
Thank you. Terrell Buzan or Buza?
Good evening. I've been a member of Triumphant Church for the past 6 years.
Can we have your name and address, please?
Terrell Booza, 410 Emmett Street, Bristol.
Thank you.
I've been a member of Triumphant Church for the last 6 years, and I want to communicate my disappointment in the process. I appreciate the work of the R Street NRZ and the Latino Coalition, but I am puzzled as to why our church was not consulted in this project. Aside from South Church and St. John's Church, Triumphant Church is the oldest stakeholder on R Street. We've been there for 42 years. We've assisted the city in every major project on R Street, including when R Street was reconstructed in the 90s. It's very disappointing when outsiders come into a neighborhood and totally disregard those who are already there. Very disappointing. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes the list of those who have signed up. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak regarding pretty much anything? Come on up. Oh, I've got one. I'm sorry.
My name is Joe DeGenti, 67 Martin Luther King Drive. I was, and I am, and I don't know if I'm still housing chairman of the NRZ. I do not believe people should talk behind people's back and do stuff behind our back. And things are going real bad over there. In 2001, the state of Connecticut gave us the bylaws. And in our bylaws, it's the residents that have the power, that live in the neighborhood, the store owners that have property in the neighborhood. The bylaws should not be taken out and put into anybody else's name but the residents of the neighborhood. Now, I have no idea why, but the last meeting, I was told we were going to vote on somebody to come in and change our bylaws. I'm housing chairman. Why wasn't I notified? Why wasn't Jeffrey notified? Why was the other one notified? They did it behind our backs. Now, how can I go and vote for something I don't even know what it is? This is the problem. I talked to Mrs. Brack. She's our representative. She told me what to do. I'm going to go all the way to the state and not to have this change because it takes the power away from the people. Hartford has 7 NRZs, but there is no organization that are outside that has the power to take over their NRZs. And this is given to us as residents. There's 3 of them in town right now, and they should listen very closely. You do not give somebody that don't live in your area and don't even live in your town power over your NRZs. And this is going to hurt us, and I know it's going to hurt us, and I will continue with the state and find out what I could do to stop this. Because we have problems over there. I have a lot of problems because I don't get to talk over there. They told me to shut up a lot of times. You guys know, you hear me up here speaking and everything. We had an election. I don't care about losing an election. Elections don't bother me. I just care about the people that live there, the people that don't have a word because they're not invited to an NRZ. Margaret Malinowski used to make me papers when Rich Marzi was there. These 2 last chairmans we had, they never invited the people and the residents. They are the runners, the residents. Not over here at the City Hall, the residents are the runners. And I'll take care of this with that, but I just want to let you guys know exactly what's going on. And I'm going to try to stop the election, the voting on this, and give the power back to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak public participation?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Carmelo Rodriguez Jr., 12454 Slater Road, chairman of the Britain Latino Coalition, co-founder of Barrio Latino, and I might even throw a title today I never used before, or as an ordained minister. It's a sad day for New Britain. First of all, it's a sad day for New Britain, for the Latino, for the Barrio Latino, for the Christian community, when we have Christians organization that can stand up here against the veterans, against the community, against new apartments, businesses. I heard the word commitment, accountability. But let me give you a little history. My father was a pastor, a Triumphant Church many years ago by another name, same organization. I was associate pastor there for for many years, member for over 20 years. Let me give you a little insight. A lot of the negotiations that were there years ago, I was part of some of it. The church was notified probably 18, 19 years ago that when they bought the property, there was going to be centers, there's going to be recreation for the children. Many things were promised to the church. As you saw, for many years, the building sat there, where while many times the church was considered as a slum landlord because the building was deteriorated. It was an ugly building there. Both buildings they had prior to that. And many times I came to different aldermen and told them that something new was going to happen. And many times that the buildings were going to get fined, the city had, in good faith, sit back and wait because something new was about to happen. It's 2017, nothing happened. The community of faith was lied. The Latino community was lied. A lot of empty promise was given to our community. But today, we're asking for the city to have commitments. The last 40-something years, the city and the Britain been really good to the Latino community and to that organization. I know because I was part of it for over 20 years. My father was a pastor there. So I know the city and the Britain, through different administration, has worked hand to hand. If everything or most of the stuff they have, it was because it was work in good faith. Even some of the property was there. So today I come to you saying that I support this project. It will provide new apartments. It will turn this ugly building into something nice. We do have an investors. The prior owner to the city, they didn't do nothing for over 20 years. Had plastic bags on the windows there. Place was falling apart. Again, with empty promises. Now, I come to you saying that we need new business in the Art Street. We need that building to be turned around to something modern. We are experiencing the new. So today I vote to say yes. It's going to be something that's going to help the community and the Christian community. But it's sad that as a minister I have to come and fight, or not fight, or talk against another organization. We are not here. The church, our fundamental value are not to be suing people, but to working together. Please vote yes on this resolution.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience would like to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is David Tejo. I live on 7 Rocky Ledge in Clinton, Connecticut. I was raised in New Britain. I graduated from New Britain High School. My family, my friends, they all live in New Britain. So this is where my interest is. I still come to Triumphant Church. From what I heard, there's a history. There was, I believe, 9 pastors before my pastor. My pastor has been there for 19 years, the longest serving pastor. It is finally getting into a place where things need to be. There was an agreement to help veterans. There was an agreement to help homeless veterans. And now it's turning into a profit margin. I don't know why, because originally they had grants. If I'm not mistaken, the Veterans Inc. had grants. The city dragged their feet. I apologize if I'm insulting anyone, but they lost their grants. Now they have no money. I don't know if it was done on purpose or by mistake, but that situation should have been rectified with Veterans Inc. Not come up with your own idea or our own idea of what to do with the building, make it a profit margin. We did it because we wanted to help New Britain get the homeless people off the streets. And if you really look into it, a lot of the homeless people are veterans who have PTSD. So we did it to help, and instead it's turned into a profit margin. I don't disagree that the property needs to be done with the property. Many times we boarded it up, even when we put boards, nails, it got broken into simply because Arch Street, it is what it is. The community is what it is. We boarded it many times. We did not leave it in plastics. We boarded it because I actually personally helped do this project. But the point is that this was a decision that was made, yes, by another administration. If you honor the decision, you honor yourselves, you honor the city. If you don't honor the decision, you dishonor the city, you dishonor yourselves. It's all it comes down to. The city gave the word, they back up on it, and decide to come up with their own plans. What does that tell a business that wants to come in to New Britain? That you're going to make an agreement with them, and then next administration comes in, you change your mind? Are you trying to attract business or are you trying to push business away? Because if you keep your word, that's what it stands. The integrity of New Britain. And like I said, I grew up in New Britain. It don't matter if I grew up in the ghetto. It don't matter if I grew up in the projects. I'm a hardworking citizen, and that's what we do with people in New Britain. We encourage them to have good morals, good ethics, good working ethics, and that's why we invested this property. We could have said, you know what, we're just going to get a loan and lay it down, just knock it down. But we did it because there was an opportunity to help people. Now, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak? Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak for public participation? Anyone else in the audience would like to speak for public participation this evening? Seeing none, then we will close this public participation section at 7:26 p.m. Thank you very much.
We're all here. Alrighty. I would like to call to order this regular meeting of the New Britain Common Council. The date is February 8th, 2017, and the time is 7:40 p.m. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Alderpersons Giantonio.
Here.
Smedley.
Present.
Carlozzi.
Here.
Black.
Present.
Collins.
Present.
Davis.
Here.
Hargraves.
Here.
Naples.
Here.
Pabon. Polkowski.
Present.
Rosado.
Here.
Salvio.
Here.
Sanchez.
Excused?
Bless you. Sanders.
Here.
Salerno.
Here.
13 present, Your Honor.
Thank you. Alderman Carlozzi?
Thank you, Your Honor. Madam Mayor, the Alderman Sanchez could not be here this evening. He had a last-minute emergency, and he asked to be excused.
Thank you very much.
And I don't want to speak for the other side, but Alderman Pabon, I believe, is away.
In the southern office.
At the southern office,
In
thank
the
you.
office in Puerto Rico. So we are very
Where
jealous
the
of him
sun
this
is out.
evening, and we know that he's probably not watching from home, but we miss him anyway. Can we all please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance?
Your Honor, this is in regard to Valentine's Day, part of today's prayer. My wife selected when we had our marriage many, many years ago, and Alderman Rosado may know some of this passage is from Corinthians. Let us pray. O God, our Heavenly Father, as we approach Valentine's Day, we ask you to fill our hearts and souls with your precious gift of love and chocolate. We ask you to instill in us everlasting love for our families, friends, and colleagues. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It is not rude, it is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. We ask this in thy name. Amen.
Amen. And the Pledge of Allegiance led by Rich Reyes.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gotcha. Surprise. Sorry, I always scare people with the Pledge of Allegiance. It's just to put your name in the record. Thank you. Thank you all very much. We are going to start this evening with a presentation, I believe, from the Mattabesset District. So I would like to call Mr. Simonian up to the podium to talk about sewers.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Mayor. We're handing out actually a little short presentation that we have here. And with me today I have John Dunham, our board chairman, and Timothy Stewart, who's also on our board as well, representing New Britain. And I think that covers everybody here for us. So I was here actually last year to talk a little bit about the Mattabesset budget and some of the impacts that are being accompanied or incorporated throughout the years. This year we're going to talk a little bit about some of the budget drivers for a few minutes, and also some of the credits that we're actually able to get into the budget this year that are going to actually help out our charter members. So if everyone has their sheets in front of them, the first sheet is actually some budget notes, which talks about how our budget actually comes about in terms of flows. New Britain has the highest flows going to the Mattabesset Sewer District in Cromwell. and as a result has the most significant impact in terms of our operating part of our budget. Our budget is actually made up of operating, capital, and debt service, and the operating budget is based on a 5-year average flow. The capital and debt service are based on what they call a reserve capacity. So each community is assigned a reserve capacity. We update that every so often. The operating budget assessment is impacted by credits from income. When Middletown joined the district back in 2012, there was a $13 million buy-in fee, and that money is being distributed back to the charter members, New Britain, Berlin, and Cromwell, as credits against their assessments, and it's being distributed over the next approximately 18 years. The debt portion of the assessment increases each year regardless of debt expenses because the Middletown credits are being issued actually reduced a little bit each year. So they are being drawn down slowly so at the end of that 18-year period, they'll be down to 0. This year, the assessments have increased a greater proportion than the disbursements for fiscal year 18 because we're not using as much reserve funds. So our budget only went up, you'll see on the next sheet, about 1.1% from last year, but the assessments actually went up a little bit higher because we're using less reserve funds. But one of the things we're able to do that you'll see, and it's going to our full board on the 21st for approval, is to use a little bit more of those credits early on to get some of those credits back to New Britain, Berlin, and Cromwell faster. Middletown is paying about 38% of debt service as comparison to New Britain, which is paying about 35%. And that's because of those credits from those buy-in fees that help reduce New Britain's debt service portion of the budget. Probably the most important thing on this first sheet with budget notes is that once Middletown's additional flows are introduced into the district, right now they're in the process of building a new pump station. You probably saw the construction that was going on Route 9 along the by the Aragoni Bridge where they're constructing their force main sewer pipe. That was complete last year, but now they're in the process of building a pump station that'll take all their former treatment plant that's still in use now and bring their flows up to Mattabassett. Once that's complete, which is estimated in 2019, then their flows that come into Mattabassett will further distribute among all the communities and will further lower the assessments for New Britain, Berlin, and Cromwell. So if you turn to the next page, this is just a kind of overall summary of what goes into the budget. I highlighted a couple key numbers. Overall, the budget increase is 1.11% over last year's budget. And at the very bottom, you'll see some of these what's called the reserve fund credits that we're applying this year. We've actually accelerated that to reflect these numbers. As an example, New Britain's getting $977,357 in credits for the Middletown addition, and that's just this year. The next page talks about fiscal year 16-17 versus 17-18, and this is just the overall budget. So our biggest budget drivers are electricity and salaries. We were able to save some costs on our medical insurance this year, but our electricity budget is projected to go up because of rates that are jumping up next year. But as a result, though, of making some other adjustments in our capital, we kept our budget increase overall to 1.11%. And the next page, which has your assessments, it's got 3 highlighted lines in yellow. You'll see for New Britain, and again, this is pending our board approval on the 21st, but the Finance Committee did approve this tonight. The additional credits, which I could give credit to New Britain's representative to propose this, that we accelerate these credits, goes up to allow our budget increase to only be $24,600 for New Britain versus last year. So that's a 0.43%, and the other towns you could see down below. So that credit adjustment, which really makes sense to apply this year, if you flip 2 more pages, it shows you how these credits are actually calculated. We've actually increased the credits over the course of the next 4 years, and this will help soften that additional cost until Middletown's on board. Once Middletown's on board, that'll further, again, as I mentioned on the first slide, distribute that cost to the other communities. So, result of these additional credits, it's another $304,000 that's being added to lower New Britain's budget. And again, that'll go on for the next 4 years, and so we're We think we put a responsible budget together. The board did approve the overall budget last month, and we're expecting that they'll approve these assessment and these revised credits this month. So with that, I will answer any questions.
I have one.
Alderman Salvio.
Yes, through you, Your Honor. I have, the question I have is these additional flows. What are they?
The additional flows that Middletown, once they join, is their pump station that is being constructed is going to take their flows from their treatment plant and bring them into Mattabesset. That was part of the agreement when they joined the district 4 years ago. So those flows are approximately about 4 to 5 million gallons per day, and that will help further reduce the percentage distribution to Berlin, New Britain, and Cromwell.
So they're treating their own, those flows that are going to be added later on. They're treating them themselves now.
Currently, they're treating them through their treatment plant, which is still in operation. They will, in 2019, they will do some pre-treatment prior to coming to Mattabesset, and then it'll be piped in under their own project, their own cost. They will pay for their own pumping station, bring it into Mattabesset, and the only thing we will do is treat it for the nitrogen and solids before it's discharged into the Connecticut River.
Thank you.
Alderman Carlucci. Alderman Salerno.
Oh, yes, through you, Madam Chairman, Your Honor. And again, I would hope that, thank you for being here. It's nice to hear from Mattabesset. I'd like to ask some probably an ignorant question, certainly. I'm not sure how many other members of the council know everything about Mattabesset. I certainly need to learn a lot more. Can you kind of go over the credit process a little bit more, maybe some simplified comments on it, and also what the time frame is in terms of the Middletown full membership, if you will, and how that will affect us, and if you have any time frames along that line?
Sure. Yeah, Middletown, as part of negotiations, and there was a special act that was formed in 2015, 2011, I'm sorry, joined the district, and part of that negotiations included a buy-in fee into the district. That was negotiated back then with the former board chairmans and former executive director, and as a result of that, there was a $13 million reserve fund that was established. There's an investment reserve fund that's in the possession of Mattabesset. It's a protected account that we earn interest on. And as part of that buy-in was looked at as part of getting ownership into the plant, so to say, because New Britain, Berlin, and Cromwell had been paying into this plant since 1968 when it was constructed. So that buy-in fee is actually, we look at it as credits that get applied to the charter members, New Britain, Berlin, and Cromwell, that have been paying in so long. So it was decided that those credits would be given back to those communities as credits against their assessments every year. And the schedule for those credits are on that last page I showed you. It's a 15-year schedule for how those credits will be applied. And the total that New Britain, for example, receive out of that $13 million buy-in is about $9.2 million over the next 15 years. So again, it was a buy-in fee, for lack of a better word. It was basically negotiated, went up to the state under a special act, and I know it took many years to get it settled. I think they first started talking about Middletown joining, that was probably in the late 90s, and then there were some public hearings, and I know some of the councils were for it, some were against it, but eventually did get approved, and that's part of that buy-in fee.
You said 9.2 million over a 15-year period.
That's right.
How does that look, and again, in terms of the investment that obviously New Britain and the others have made? I mean, how is that going to positively affect us in terms of the credit and the assets that we've produced so far? I mean, are we going to ever catch up from that standpoint, or?
Well, it certainly impacts your assessments. Without that, you'd be looking at probably about another $1 million of assessments this year without that credit being applied. So over the course of 15 years, it's $9 million, but just this year, it's about $1 million. In the year 2020-21 fiscal year, it's about $900,000, then it drops down significantly from there. But by then, Middletown should be on board. So this way, the flows that Middletown brings in will help lower your operating part of your budget, which will lower your overall budget, so to say. So positively, you're going to see a $977,000 credit to your assessment this year.
So full participation or being on board, as it were, would be several years, 3 years, longer?
We're estimating 2019-20 till they're fully on board, but because we assess based on a 5-year average flow, it'll take a few years for their average flows to start going down, because it's not, we don't assess every year based on 1 year's flows, or else you'd see really spikes and drops in your budgets because of rain and other things that affect it. So we take a 5-year flow that kind of helps soften that curve, so to say.
Thank you for the Matabassett 101. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Alderman Carlozzi?
Thank you, Your Honor. Thanks again for coming here. I think this is year number 8, Your Honor, or year number 7. All I know is I remember under Mayor Tim Stewart, I think our contribution to Matabassett budget was somewhere around $2 or $2.5 million. And I'm noticing now that it's upwards of $5.7 million out of $14 million budget. First of all, I want to thank you for this budget being such a small increase over what it was. I've seen much, I say small because any increase is big, actually, okay? So, but the budget percentages are small compared to what we've seen in the past, so I do want to thank you for that. Take me through the total members on the board, if you could, the different towns and how many members they have.
There's 15 board members.
Okay.
There's 5 from New Britain, there's 4 from Middletown, 3 from Cromwell, and 3 from Berlin. So
Okay.
it's made up of 15 board members total.
Okay. So help me if understand, we are actually, in 2014, we had a 63% flow going through Matabassett, and our flow has decreased in 2015 to 60.60. I'm sure, if I'm reading this correctly, 2016 flows are 60.64. Is that correct?
The 2016 flows are 60.64% of the total flows, and in 2015 it's 60.6. So
Okay.
your percentage has actually gone up. So again, it's all a ratio of what the total flows are.
But less than the 63.4 in 2014.
Correct.
So some may say that I probably should not harp on the increase because it is a small increase, Your Honor. I mean, it's $24,000, but $24,000 I think is pretty large, and I'm trying to understand why our percentage increase is 0.43, just a little less than 0.5%, whereas Berlin is consuming more than, there's more flow than Berlin had before, but yet their increase is only 0.09, and Cromwell's actually went down. They actually had they're paying less this year than they paid last year. So while you know, some may say, hey, this is not that bad considering, I mean, New Britain pays almost $5.8 million. We don't have the chairman, right?
Correct.
Okay. So we're the largest contributor to the budget, and that's not your fault, by the way. That's a different discussion. But I'm just trying to understand why our increase was even at 0.43. Why it's not less when there's less going through than there was in the past. If you can educate me on that, I would really appreciate it.
Some of it is actually due to the 5-year average flows. So the table below talks about the 5-year flows, and if you look at, as an example, 12 to 16, New Britain's 5-year average flow is 61.47, as opposed to the previous 5 years was this is on that first very small print sheet,
Yep.
61.42. The other part is the credits that I talked about, has those credits go down. New Britain sees less of a credit, more than anybody else, because they're getting the biggest amount too as well. And also we're using less reserve funds this year as well, so that impacts the budget more. But the biggest driver, you're the biggest contributor in terms of flows, and our operating budget is about half of our budget as we speak, a little bit more than half. So you're paying a proportional, probably greater share because of the operating part of the budget being a bigger portion of it.
Do you have would you have any idea, and I don't think you were there at the time, but back 6-7 years ago, do you know what percentage of flow we had at that time?
I don't have it with me, but I do have those figures back in my office, and I have some assessment histories too that I can maybe share through Tim and the members too, that can maybe get it to you guys if you're interested.
I thank you for mentioning that. I also do want to thank our representation that we have on the board. I think they're doing a great job. I think it is reflective in these increases that they're not as bad as they were in the past. I still don't understand the rate increases when we're less. And again, I'm going back to historical data. We were paying 2.5 or 2 point, in that number back in 2009, I believe, Your Honor, and now we're at 5.7 million. That's a significant portion of our budget. So when we think about those things, Your Honor, and we're using less, there's less flow going. We've been pumping a lot of money into our own infrastructure, so there's less going to the to Mattabesset, but yet we're still paying a huge amount of money. It's something that just always gets me every year, and I think I've been speaking about this issue now for quite some time. I do want to thank our board representatives. I still want to thank you for coming here and presenting this. It's just 1 year I'm looking for this actually, for us to be paying less. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, and one of the things one of the budget drivers that I didn't talk about on the first sheet, because it's been there for a couple of years, is the nitrogen project that we did. That's about a $100 million project, counting interest over the next 18 years. This year alone, we're paying about $5.5 million in interest and principal on that. So that's a big portion of our budget driver compared to 3 years ago. And then we also built up the reserve funds and used some of those reserve funds in last year and the year before to help keep the budget down a little bit as well.
But that project was isn't that one of the reasons why Middletown finally joined in on the board?
The majority of the project was done for denitrification and upgrades of the plant. The portion that was probably attributed to Middletown was probably less than 5 or maybe 10% at most. The rest of the project was done for that denitrification.
Thank you again for your explanation, and thank you for coming. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other alderman? Alderman Giantonio.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you. You touched on this, and I'm kind of looking at your operating costs, and it looks like electricity is almost a quarter of your budget. Are you guys taking any steps to, with renewable energy or anything to try and reduce your electricity consumption?
One of the things that we've done with the upgrade is we put a lot of what they call variable frequency drives in for our pumps and motors and blowers. The other thing that we have out here is that I just put out a RFP for energy performance contract, which I know some towns, I did it actually when I was in Berlin before, and we're going to see if we can actually get someone to look at all our energy consumption, not just electricity, but gas, water, and see if there's some projects that we could do that help save that. And typically the way those projects work is that you fund them from the electric and gas savings annually. You fund the debt service portion of the project from there. So we're hoping maybe some solar panels or fuel cells may help bring that number down a little bit.
Great. Thank you.
We know a lot, as a smart city, we know a lot of people that we can put you in contact with.
I learned something from New Britain before about their fuel cells, so thank you.
Come on over and check mine out.
Yeah. Any other, Alderman Polkowski?
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you. I just want to thank Mattabesset also for these credits. As Alderman Carlozzi also pointed out, some of these average flows for the years have been ticking down, and I just wanted to make sure that the council is aware that I know that the Public Works Department and the Water Department are painstakingly working on projects to actually try to decrease these flows. We have tremendous I&I infiltration and inflow in our pipes, and we're trying to seal them up as best as possible so we're not actually treating this groundwater, and we're actually treating the water that should be treated. So I just wanted to thank the Public Works Department and Water Department for that. Thank you.
Yeah, we're working closely with your consultant on that, providing some flow data and hopefully reduce that number, because that is, unfortunately for everybody, it's a big portion of the budget as well. We probably treat on average about half of our flow for the year, about 3.4 billion is actually clean water that gets into the system. So it's important that everybody tries to do that and reduce those flows.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate your time, and we thank our members for advocating for us the best that they can.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, Alderman Giantonio for the minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 14th and the special meeting of January 11th, 2017.
I have a second by Alderman Salvio. Any discussion or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Amendments. Alderman Giantonio.
Thank you, Your Honor. One amendment
one amendment to the agenda, and that is withdrawal of 16. So I make a motion to amend the agenda by withdrawing item number 16.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Rosado. Any questions or comments? The amendment is to withdraw resolution number 16. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderpersons Giantonio.
Yes.
Smedley.
Yes.
Carlozzi.
Yes.
Black.
Yes.
Collins. Davis.
Yes.
Hargraves.
Yes.
Naples.
Yes.
Polkowski.
Yes.
Rosado.
Yes.
Salvio.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Salerno.
Yes.
13-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion carries. Petitions, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, we have one, Your Honor. Alderman Salerno, amend sections of the zoning ordinances that involves motor vehicle sales, motor vehicle repairs locations, and certain other motor vehicle-related businesses.
Okay, we'll send that to City Plan and the Zoning Committee.
Thank you. That's it, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. On to the consent agenda for Alderman Giantonio.
Thank you, Your Honor. I am not aware of any items being asked off of consent. Therefore, I make a motion to accept and adopt a consent agenda consisting of items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Salerno. Are there any discussions? Mr. Clerk?
Alderpersons Giantonio.
Yes.
Smedley.
Yes.
Carlozzi.
Yes.
Black.
Yes.
Collins. Davis.
Yes.
Hargraves.
Yes.
Naples.
Yes.
Polkowski.
Yes.
Rosado.
Yes.
Salvio.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Salerno.
Yes.
13-0, Your Honor.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to resolutions. Resolution number 1 goes to Alderman Giantonio.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt item number 1.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Collins.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item number 1 has to do with residency requirement for department heads. In the past years, we've kind of dealt with these individually to make sure that we are attracting the highest talent possible for our department heads. And this really changes that. So we're saying all department heads, with the exception of the fire chief, police chief, and any successor to the director of public works, may take up permanent residence wherever they so choose. And I urge adoption. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any aldermen for discussion?
I have.
Alderman Salvio.
Yes, my question, it's not really a question, it's a comment. My knowledge of applying for a job is that, in this case, the city opens up a search for a position, to fill a position. So they put ads everywhere, and people look and find these ads for these positions, and they say, oh, that's something I think that I would like to do, and that's something I think I'm qualified for. And so they apply for the job. Now, in this case, let's say the guy comes from Oshkosh, and he wants to apply for this job in the city of New Britain. He's highly qualified. And so he qualifies. At the same time, Mr. Rodriguez says, I'd like to have the job. And so he applies for it, and he's fully qualified for the job also. But in the deliberations of the personnel department with all their crew that they have amassed to look at these applications, they decide that they want the person from Oshkosh. Now, if I read this resolution correctly, it tells me that, if necessary, the city agrees to apply some incentives for the person from Oshkosh to come to New Britain. I don't think that's right. You applied for a job, so you get the job, you come here. We shouldn't have to give you incentives for the privilege of having you come to our city to take a position. That's the way I look at it. So I think if we could get rid of the incentive part of this resolution, then I would be willing to vote for it. Otherwise, I cannot.
Alderman, thank you, Alderman Salvio. Alderman Carlozzi.
Thank you, Your Honor. Alderman Salvio, I would ask, first of all, I think I understand where Alderman Salvio was going, but what this does say, Alderman, first of all, this is for department head positions, Your Honor, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, this is for department heads, and what it says was that we have a requirement that the fire chief, police chief, and any successor to the director of public works are department head positions that we have identified as we want them to live in the city of New Britain. So within, they have 1 year, and then after that 1 year, they must be residents of the city of New Britain. They have to, or else they could face termination of employment. What we're doing is for the other department heads, we're not requiring that they be residents of the city of New Britain, but should they take residency in the city of New Britain during their employment, there will be a small incentive in their salary to encourage them to take residence in the city of New Britain. Alderman Salvio, I believe that if I'm mistaken, someone please correct me, but I believe that's what it says.
You are correct. Yes.
Thank you. So Alderman Salvio, I'm hoping that clarifies it a little bit and might change your thoughts on it.
It does not.
Okay, you're not. Okay, well then I'm gonna let someone else explain it in a second. But Your Honor, the only thing I was gonna say originally, I thought it was pretty clear, but maybe not. Your Honor, what I was gonna say was we've done it. We've had a couple of different times with this. I'm hoping this is the last time we deal with this particular issue.
This will be the last time we deal with it.
This is the third time that we've cleared up the languages, so I'm hoping that this is the last one because we need to, yeah.
Agreed.
We need to move on. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other alderman wish to comment? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No, for the record.
Motion carries. No for the record with Alderman Salvio. Resolution number 2, Alderman Sanders.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number 2.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Polkowski.
This resolution has to do with cleaning up our code of ordinances, which we've been in the process of for months now, for our police department procedures and policies. Apparently, in order for our chief to achieve and maintain accreditation, he has to be able to have the authority to issue and modify and approve policies and procedures, which wasn't very clear in our ordinances. So this just clarifies that to make sure our chief can be our chief. I urge adoption.
Thank you, sir. It's very old and outdated language that was not accurate to the functions of the day-to-day operations of the police department. So occasionally we find some of those in the many hundreds of pages of ordinances that we have. Thank you. Any further questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Chief, for finally being chief legally. Alderman Giantonio, resolution number 3.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt item number 3.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Smedley.
Thank you, Your Honor. This has to do with a lease agreement with Cellco Partners doing business as Verizon Wireless to allow them to put their cellular signals on our tower at Stanley Golf Course. This will bring in $30,000 a year, and it also has an escalator clause that I believe adds 2% for 5 years, and then there's another 5-year term that can be negotiated. I think it's a great idea to put a cell tower there and raise some money in the process. I urge adoption.
Thank you very much. The cell tower will be placed at Stanley Golf Course, in case anybody was. It's actually already there. This is just a.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to clear that up.
Go ahead, Alderman Smedley. Sorry.
Thank you, Your
It's not
Honor.
my meeting, it's theirs.
This
I
is,
forget sometimes.
This is an antenna and equipment that will be added to the existing tower that is there. We're not building another tower in the middle of the golf course. Golfers would be upset.
If you have Verizon, it's good news for you. I have AT&T, so it doesn't really matter for me. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Giantonio.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt item number 4.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Sanders.
Thank you, Your Honor. This has to do with a proposed sale of 65 Kilbourne Avenue to Anthony and Pamela Bianca for $30,000. You heard during public participation. They have the property next door, and the house is rather large and a bit large for their needs in the future, so they want to buy the property next door and build a new house to retire and continue to live in our great city. You know, some history on this lot. It was much bigger at one point in time and then got smaller with some of the give backs that we had to give with the golf course project. And it's been in our possession for quite some time with little interest other than the Biancas, and I urge the sale and look forward to another new house being built in the city and on our tax rolls. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Alderman Carlosi.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the Biancas were, Tony Bianca actually was very smart tonight. He allowed his beautiful wife to speak. And I'm sorry, it wasn't he didn't allow, she spoke, excuse me. They used the best weapon in the house. Forgive me for saying that. Pam Bianca is very much a New Britain icon and has done much for this community. And it was very smart of them to have her speak because that certainly gets my interest. So I have no qualms with the Biancas buying this property, Your Honor. What I do have a question with is the process in which the city sells property. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I'm not sure who to direct my questions to, Your Honor. But what was the process under which we sell property, in particular this property tonight? I'm not sure who to ask that question to.
How about Deputy Chief of Staff, Justin Dorsey?
My good friend.
Good evening.
Mr. Dorsey, can you explain the process that was used?
Sure. About 3 months ago, November, December, Mr. Bianca brought a letter signed by him and his wife making an offer on the lot next to his house. And that was provided to the mayor and corporation council. And the mayor accepted the offer and brought it forward to council back in January, went to committee. Now it's here tonight.
Awesome. Your Honor, through you, I'm going to continue to ask Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you.
Was an appraisal obtained?
There's a current appraisal that we have with Vision.
With Vision?
Correct.
Thank you.
That's what the city uses.
Correct, okay.
For appraising and assessing.
So, Your Honor, thank you for Mr. Dorsey for bringing up Vision Appraisal. Vision Appraisal has this property appraised as of 2012, which I believe was a down year, at $62,800. And the assessment, if we in fact collected taxes on this, was $43,960. The updates for the appraisal as of 2015 is $99,600. So I sort of wonder, without having us gotten an independent, current market appraisal on the property, whether that was really in our best interest or not.
Do you want to call it Mike Koenig?
I think I got
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
Would you like to direct any questions to Mike Koenig?
Mike Koenig, he's in the back of the room, yes,
The
Your
beauty of having our own assessor is that we can do our own assessments.
Okay.
With our city assessor.
Mr. Koenig.
Who shall come up and explain. Good evening.
Good evening. How is everybody?
Great.
You heard the question, sir.
You're talking about the appraisals.
Yes, sir.
The appraisal of this property was done October 1st of 2012. That was our last revaluation. And then when the conservation easement was placed on the property, a portion of the property was deemed to be excess land due to the fact it's no longer developable because of the easement that's in place.
So, and that was done after 2012?
The conservation easement was filed in 2014.
So, great. Well, that's because that's not reflected anywhere on Vision Appraisal. It's not reflected in anything there.
Yes, it is. The assessment now is, pardon me, it's $43,960. It used to be a higher assessment prior to that.
Your Honor, if I may. So that's the assessment, $43,960.
Yes.
So if I owned this property and it was assessed at $43,960, my taxes to the city of New Britain would have been based on that.
Correct.
And the assessment is 70% of the actual, quote, value of the property.
It's what we deem to be the appraised value that's trended back to 2012. Anything I value today has to be trended back to the values
Correct.
of 2012.
Correct.
Yep.
And that was a down year, as we discussed last night.
Right.
So again, I am voting no. I'm not voting no to the Biancas, and I'm not voting no to the Biancas at all, Your Honor. But I do feel that when we sell property, that short of us having an independent appraisal outside of of our knowledgeable assessor, that all I have to look at is Vision Appraisal, and I believe his comments just really spoke to that. It's $43,960 as the assessment, based on 70% of that's actual value at $62,000. We're selling it for $30,000. I've always had an issue with how the city sells property, Your Honor, not not just this particular one, but even in the past. I've always gotten up and spoken about it. You know, we don't do a closed bid. We don't market it. We don't, do anything like that, and we don't do appraisals. And so I believe that there is a gentleman's agreement. Someone puts in an offer, and, Your Honor, you have the opportunity and the right to accept or deny that offer. I just disagree with the value. I do wish the Biancas well. They're wonderful people, and I hate to vote no, but I am going to be voting no just for those reasons. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from any council members? Alderman Naples?
As I pointed out in the committee meeting last night, that appraisal, which Mr. Koenig said was 2012, was done before almost half of the property has an easement on it where you can't do anything with it. So what's buildable, I used to live in that neighborhood, so I'm quite familiar with the odd shape of it and what's behind it, which is El Grasso Boulevard and 24-hour lights of CCSU. There are a number of factors that reduce the present value of that property, and I just put that in for the record. Also, I don't think we should punish the Biancas for a procedure that we followed. He didn't have anything to do with, really. As I told a couple of constituents of mine who asked about the property and the price, it's very common for the city to sell vacant land to the adjacent landowner, and that's usually the one who's most interested in it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Koenig. I think we're done with our questioning for you. Thank you very much. Alderman Smedley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just rise to voice that I will be in favor of this resolution this evening, and I thank the Biancas for continuing to invest in our community, and I re-welcome you to the Belvedere section again. Thank you.
Alderman Sanders. It's funny,
Thank you,
they
Your
never
Honor.
left.
Through you. I just want to point out to Alderman Naples' point that the appraisals are old, 2012. The easement was done 2014, so it's kind of outdated. I'm sure that if the appraisals came out today, we'd probably be in line with the sale price. And even if we weren't, I believe at our committee last night, the Biancas passed out a beautiful rendering of the home they plan on building there, which is going to, looks to me like it's going to add a significant amount to the tax rolls. So we could, we could sit on this for a couple more years and hope somebody picks it up, or we can give it to somebody who's been dedicated to our community. And along those lines, I'd like to thank the Biancas. So many people, they live here for many years. They have a nice big house. They raise a family, and then they sell it, and then they head south somewhere. And they're not doing that. They're moving next door, and they're going to retire here. So that's much appreciated by myself, and I hope the council as well. So thank you. I'll be supporting this.
Thanks, Alderman. Anyone else? All right. Alderman Carlozzi.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe Alderman Naples and Alderman Sanders actually made my point. There was an easement done in 2014. Even more reason why we should have had it appraised again, Your Honor. And so my vote is not no to the Biancas. I want to be very clear about that. There's no one that I know of that has done as much for this community. Well, there are a number of people, but they've done a lot for this community. And I think it's wonderful that they want to stay here, and I think that's great. And yes, they live right next door, and they should have the first right. But without that appraisal, Your Honor, I just feel that we're not doing the city the right thing and making sure that we have the right value. I mean, if the appraisal came back at $40,000 and the best that we could negotiate was $30,000, at least we had a solid appraisal to look at, Your Honor. And I just don't understand why we don't do that. And again, Your Honor, it's not that you're doing anything different, because it's been done for years that way. I just don't feel that that's the right way to do it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay, for the record, Your Honor.
Motion carries. For the record, Alderman Carlozzi is a nay. All right, resolution number 5, Alderman Giantonio.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number 5.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Rosado.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Bringing with us members of the council, you yourself, your Deputy Chief of Staff, Justin Dorsey, and Attorney Gennaro Bizzarro.
Second.
For the purpose of discussing this, a legal matter surrounding this issue.
I have a second by Alderman Salerno.
You're on pending litigation.
Sorry, pending litigation. Thank you.
Okay, I have a second by Alderman Salerno. All those in favor of going into executive session, signify by,
it's a roll
sorry, roll call. I always forget.
Alderpersons Giantonio.
Yes.
Smedley.
Yes.
Carlosi.
Yes.
Black.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes, for the record.
Davis.
Yes.
Hargraves.
Yes.
Naples.
Yes.
Polkowski.
Yes.
Rosato.
Yes.
Salvio.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Salerno.
Yes, for the record.
13-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. We will go into executive session. For those in the audience that are waiting for us, we're going in to discuss the pending legal matter. We will come back out and continue the discussion on the resolution that's in front of us, so on the item, after we discuss the pending legal issue. So, stay put.
Time, Your Honor.
The time is 8:24.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to return to the regular order of business.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Salvio. We are returned to regular business. The time is 8:45 p.m. Alderman Giantonio
Thank you, Your
has
Honor.
the floor.
I had previously made a resolution for acceptance and adoption of this item. This is the proposed sale of property known as 266 Arch Street to Neighborhood Housing Services of New Britain. Last night in committee, we got a great presentation from Mr. Kulka, I believe, from Neighborhood Housing Services of New Britain on what they plan to do to renovate this building and bring it back to its former glory. This will contain a mix of 20 apartments, studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom, as well as a community room, on-site laundry facilities. There is substantial parking for this project in the back of the building. This seems like a great project and a great way to rehab that building. And Mr. Kukulka is here if anyone should have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go around the circle with any aldermen that would like to address it. Alderman Smedley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just rise in support of this project, and I had written a short paragraph of what I wanted to say, and I'm going to dance around that paragraph. As a city leader, and I charge all of the other city leaders up here to not tolerate boarded-up buildings and blight in our neighborhood any longer. The building has sat for quite some time since we've been throwing around 2011 as one of the change of ownership dates. So I'll use that date. So for 6 years, nothing has happened to that building. And we took office and pledged to members of the community that we were going to change the way that this city looked, that we were going to improve it. And this is part of what we're doing to make good on that promise. This is part of cleaning up our neighborhoods. This is part of providing affordable places for people in our neighborhoods to live. And wouldn't it be great for somebody to have an apartment in this building, 266 Arch Street, and walk to church one morning, and then after church, continue walking through Barrio Latino and enjoy a meal at Creolissimo or Boricua Bakery further down now, or some of the other future businesses that will start to pop up because of the improvements that we are making the change here for today. I partially understand some of the opposition, but I truly don't. I think this is such a positive step, and I think that everyone on Arch Street in the neighborhood should stand behind this firmly. It's going to help change the city for the better. So I urge adoption, and I urge everyone's support on the council for the sale of this property. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Alderman Sanders.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you to Alderman Smedley. Well said, sir.
Thank you.
I agree 100% with him. I think that, we had some concerns. I think those concerns are clarified. I'm comfortable moving forward in supporting this. Again, I think that both parties have been outstanding members of our community, and I'm hoping that they can work together and be good neighbors, and I look forward to this project coming to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Rosado.
Thank you, Your Honor. In addition to everything that's been spoken, I also rise in support of this resolution. First, I want to give a lot of credit to Neighborhood Housing Services, Mr. Kukulka, for going out of your way to present this, to meet with the community leaders, going to the Latino Coalition, also Arch Street and RZ. You went out of your way to try to hear the concerns of those in the neighborhood, and I want to give you a lot of credit for that. Also, I want to give credit to the Latino Coalition. We have worked so hard to continue developing the Barrio Latino, to see it moving forward. The Latino Coalition is comprised of so many different thoughts and ideas that are comprised there. You have Democrats, Republicans, unaffiliated. You have people who are in the church. You have people who may not be at the church. But somehow, some way, we come together and we work hard to try to work on the things that affect our community, especially on Arch Street. And I can't be prouder of a group of people, especially seeing the leadership over here and seeing them continuously working hard to try to improve the things in our community. So again, I want to give a lot of credit to all of you who are here and for the hard work you do. And let this be another piece of the puzzle as we move forward in revitalizing Barrio Latino. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Alderman Carlos.
Thank you, Your Honor. As I spoke last night, Neighborhood Housing Services does a tremendous job in the city. They've been part of the community for, I think, close to 40 years. I'm not going to date us, Mr. Malinowski, but I'm going to repeat what I said last night. Back in '87, it was the first time I had exposure to neighborhood housing.
That was a good year.
I'm sorry?
That was a good year.
That was good. You liked that year, huh, Your Honor?
That was a great
Especially
year.
May 2nd. Was May
Fourth.
2nd?
Close, fourth.
May 4th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I messed that up. May 4th of '87 was a good year for the mayor and for the stewards, I guess. But you know, they've been a significant spearhead on changing our communities, changing our neighborhoods, making them so they're places where people want to live. And I want to thank Neighborhood Housing Services for all the work that they've done. I also think it's important to also speak on behalf of Triumphant Church. Whether some agree or disagree, Triumphant Church has been on our street for over 40 years. And they had care, custody, and control of these buildings. They had a vision of what was going to happen to those two properties. Under the former administration, I was on the council. I'm well aware of what the vision was. I will also say for the record that I did not agree with Veterans Inc. I voted against that proposal. And why? I voted against it because I did not feel that it would help Barrio Latino develop. I did not feel that there would be enough going on for getting the foot traffic for the retail stores. And I did not support it for that purpose. I felt that they would be these two buildings in the middle of this development that we want to see going on, and that somehow the Latino Coalition and Barrio Latino could not really develop to its true potential by having Veterans Inc. Well, here we are now. One of the buildings went through with Veterans Inc. I'm not so sure that it's really working out well. I'm really not. I don't think that little storefront in the front is really a storefront. Maybe more offices. But it's certainly not a storefront the way I would see it for foot traffic on Arch Street. But we have this disagreement, and what saddens me is that the disagreement is among the Latino community on Arch Street. And how can we resolve that for the best interest of the Latino Coalition, for the development of Barrio Latino, and how can we resolve that issue? And so until we can get some of those issues resolved, and maybe they won't get resolved, because I'm not going to vote for this tonight, because I want to see a little more time spent to try to get those resolved. Your Honor, they may not get resolved, and this may, at the end of the day, be the only thing. We heard earlier that the church had their attorney here tonight. One can argue whether they're, good grounds or not solid grounds. I'm not an attorney. I don't think any of us on the council are attorneys, but we have great counsel in General Bizarro, and I just can't see at this point for us to move forward how we are really helping the situation. I would like for us to take a step back and try to get this resolved. And again, Your Honor, through as much work as you may do, it may not get resolved. And we'll be at the same place in a month from now. But having, I just don't like seeing all this animosity before us, Your Honor. And there's so many people that spoke against it that to me to move forward is not prudent. I'm just a little cautious when it comes to that. I would like to see how it can be resolved. I will say at the end of the day that I believe Neighborhood Housing Services will do a phenomenal job with this project, and I would like to support that, but I don't support it today based on what we have in front of us right now. So I will not be supporting it for that reason. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Salerno.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor, through you. Often we get a lot of rhetoric sometimes in council chambers, but I think the eloquence here today is very important to have heard. I would just like to commend those who did come from the church to be present here. That's what we're supposed to be about. We get a lot of criticism for maybe not supporting everything that you want or the community wants. The fact is that we listen. And when we hear you at the same time, and we're certainly pleased that you can do, we don't want to discourage you from returning to this council chambers for other issues, because one of the concerns that I do have is that any kinds of disparities between how people think about what's happening in Barrio Latino or what's happening in Arch Street. Every organization has growing pains. Every organization ever who applies really does a tremendous intent for the community, and I want to just applaud Barrio Latino for what they're doing, and I just hopefully that you all embrace that, and I think you will. I don't think there's a real animosity. I think it's maybe just an increased need for communication or other forms of communication. I highly encourage that and hope that members of this council can assist you, throughout that. So I want to commend Barrio Latino for their continued effort, and it takes continuity. We don't pick up for one issue and drop back another. You must continue to move forward, and you will move forward. I want to thank the Neighborhood Housing Services. They've been around a real long time, and you've done a tremendous effort to reach this council, be able to answer any questions that anyone on this council has had, and I certainly encourage it. I certainly expect that we will adopt this tonight, Your Honor.
Any other aldermen? Okay, this is a roll call vote, so all of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay for the record, Your Honor.
Motion carries. No for the record, Alderman Carlosi. Alderman Giantonio.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and adopt item number 6.
Seconded by Alderman Salerno.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item number 6 has to do with a proposed sale of property, 66 Winthrop Street, for $20,000 to Marion Orlowski. This is a property that was badly damaged in fire, probably just about barely standing. Great that someone wants to take it off our hands and redevelop it and get it back to, again, its former glory. I know the question is going to come up after a heated garage argument last night about the value of this property. So I did a little bit of research using everyone's favorite tool called Vision Appraisal. And the value of the land itself, now this is the appraised value, is $30,900, okay? Now let me take you through that $30,900. There is a house in very, very sad state on that property. So for that land to truly be worth $30,900, that house would need to be taken down. Now, anyone who's ever tried, and I can defer to Alderman Sanders since he's in the construction business, it's going to cost more than $10,000 to do that. I think we have a very fair sale here to a gentleman who is committed to improving this property and making the necessary fixes to bring it up to what it used to be before the fire, and I urge every one of my colleagues to support this. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Alderman Salerno.
I just want to certainly support everything that Alderman Giantonio has stated, but furthermore, this gentleman, if we recall, came to us a long time ago and presented, and I think people shook their heads in committee and said, why? How could anyone want to take this property? Why would they want to do that? That's what we call dedication to the community. I want to thank Mr. Orlowski for coming forward to doing what he's going to be able to do for the city, for the community, and for that neighborhood. So I certainly urge adoption.
Alderman Sanders.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you, thank you for the research, Alderman Giantonio. So if the land value is $30,900, that's fantastic. Probably to take that house down is about $50,000. So him giving us $20,000 is a blessing to get rid of the extreme liability that we have sitting there with the city of New Britain owning that property. So I am more than happy to move this resolution forward. Thank you.
Alderman Carlosi.
Of course, Your Honor. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak on this. I can't even imagine when Alderman Giantonio says there was a heated discussion for an hour in the cold garage last night what he was referring to. And I have a lot of respect for Alderman Sanders and his construction background. I'm not going to even repeat everything I said under the other one for 65 Kilbourne, but I will be voting no. Yes, I will be voting no to this. Thank you very much. It's not, by the way, the gentleman said he's not tearing it down. I applaud him for having the vision to go into a burned out building and restoring it and putting it back on the, and putting it back to its former glory. That's outstanding. My only objection, Your Honor, I'm sure we didn't do an as-is appraisal. Maybe if we had done an as-is appraisal, we would have gotten 5,000. I don't know, Your Honor. I
can give you a first-hand account of being
Okay.
in the building
But
quite
the-
often of
but
what
the
it
only
looks
point-
like.
I keep on saying no to these things because I'm hoping that one day we actually are going to get appraisals when we sell land. That's all. I don't think that's too much to ask for. So I'm going to vote no, Your Honor, for that reason. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay for the record.
Motion carries. For the record, Alderman Carlosi is a no. Alderman Polkowski, it's your show for the next three.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to accept and adopt resolution resolution number 7.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Hargreaves.
Your Honor.
Alderman Sanders.
I'd like to recuse myself from Resolution 7. I have property in that area, and since the TOD stuff is all kind of intertwined, I'm going to recuse myself from 7, 8, and 9. Thank you.
Bye. See you later. We hope this helps you make profits. Alderman Polk, that he has left the building, let the record reflect that. Alderman Polkowski.
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution number 7 pertains to our zoning subcommittee meeting yesterday in regards to propose amendments to various sections of the zoning ordinance as it relates to transit-oriented development, or a lot of people hear TOD being thrown around in the vicinities of the East Main Street and East Street fast track stations. This was overwhelmingly supported with a favorable recommendation last night. I believe there was one no for the record. But this is something that we should hopefully spur development around the fast track stations, get new developments in here, provide opportunities for other businesses to actually establish themselves and actually hopefully come up with some kind of coordinated neighborhood rather than a mishmash of commercial developments and residential buildings. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Giantonio.
Your Honor, I'd just like to point out one thing. In a previous packet that you may have or may not have printed in front of you, it says on 7, 8, and 9 that it was a unanimous vote. That has been changed in the official packet to read by a majority vote as far as the committee level goes. So that has been changed in the official resolution. I just wanted, in case my copy was old, so that's why I was just making sure that everyone is aware of that.
Alderman Carlosi.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm going to ask a question. I know we did a number of these, I believe it was last year, and then we put a pause on the East Street one because we felt it was important to go back out to the community to have sessions with the neighborhoods and all, the neighbors and all of that. And Your Honor, I think I got 1 or 2 invites to some of those I wasn't able to attend through you to your trusted and our trusted friend, Justin Dorsey. Can you tell me a little bit about the number of meetings that we had in this neighborhood to talk to the neighbors?
If I can redirect your question,
Thank
I
you, Your
think
Honor.
that may want to go to Kenny Malinowski.
Wonderful. Mr. Malinowski, would you honor us?
Still our friend, Kenny Malinowski.
Trusted.
Over 30 plus years, 40 years?
Good evening.
How are you, sir? So again, you heard me. I know last year we put this on hold. There was an outpouring of opposition from the neighbors. We wanted to put it on hold and go back out and do some sessions with the neighbors. Can you guys just give us an idea of like how many different sessions we had, the turnout at those sessions, and what maybe was accomplished?
Does anyone have a copy of
Well,
it?
what you had before you last year was the IHCs.
That's correct.
The incentive housing zones.
Correct.
And after further review of the IHCs, which was an overlay of a district, of a zoning district. So it was the original zoning would stay in place, the IHCs would lay over, and it inevitably was defunded at the state because when it originally started, there was a financial advantage to doing the IHCs. I believe it was $2,500 per unit to the city and $2,500 per unit to a developer to help them increase the density around the busway stations. It ended up being a bust, and because of some of the language, I think you saw, particularly in the East Street area, the people were concerned with the language that was associated with the IHCs and the type of housing that it may help to create. And the city chose instead to go out and do a further study, which was paid for by the state of Connecticut, and we utilized the firm of Milone and McBroom. And Milone and McBroom not only did the study, but they also did a number of events around town. There was one at the police station, which I was present at, that had maybe 40 people. There was something done at Central with the Town and Gown Group. I'm not certain of the participation. I know that there was also meetings done with the Eastside NRZs at the Stanley Memorial Center, and other publications of what was going forward. Now what has come out is actually a new zoning district instead of an overlay, which will make it much, much easier to understand and to implement.
So there were a number of outreach sessions that were done.
I have the dates. Sorry, I was looking them up.
Thank you,
they
Your
are
Honor. If you
in.
just put them into the record, that would be great.
Yep, so the public workshops were held on March 14th, 2016. Was a community visioning workshop. That was the large one at the police station. March 14th, 2016. The downtown district had a workshop on June 14th, 2016. The Eastside NRZ had one on July 28th. The Town Gown Group met specifically for this on September 26th. And then we had the final community workshop, kind of bring everything together, on November 3rd.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the first one was an overlay. So basically, if your home, if your property was a T2 or a T zone or whatever, then the IHC would be an overlay over that, but your property still had that sub-layer of a T or a B1 or an I or whatever it was.
That's correct.
So now we basically have, this would basically change the zoning for, we're creating a brand new zone that affects all those properties within the map area. Now, if I understood last night correctly, potentially someone could come across and buy 5 or 6 parcels and create an acre and get them all as one, and could go up now and build a 4 or 5 story building, and next door you could still have a 2-family.
That's correct. So whatever zoning was in place, and your building is there, you are still grandfathered.
Right.
Providing that you do not change the use of the property. Once the use is changed, then the grandfathering goes away. There are also incentives for people to adjoin lots.
Right.
There's an area, for instance, around Central, I don't remember the name of the streets, but there are a number of single-family homes. And they're on the classic New Britain lot, and the classic New Britain lot is 50 feet across the front, 100 feet deep, 5,000 square feet. These small single-family homes are occupied by 5 to whatever number of students. The idea when we were looking at this area is to look at areas that are like this, where you have a number of single-family homes or 2-family homes that are, bursting at the seams with students, and saying, what if we offer an incentive to take 3 or 4 of these single-family homes out and actually build a building that will accommodate the number of students that are living there. So instead of, sometimes we're fighting this thing, instead of fighting it completely, legalize it, make it right. And in the areas that were chosen under this map, it was not felt that this would affect the traditional or older neighborhoods that are above them and closer to the university itself. By doing this and supplying even more housing out in these areas, the chances are very good you're going to drain the problem areas that we have west of Stanley Street into these areas, and they will be in buildings that can accommodate them as opposed to single-family homes. At the same time, you have brand-new housing, which is right next to the fast track, which would accommodate young professionals, those who don't have cars, or they have one car out of a family of 2 people, and they would enjoy the use of the fast track. So it could accommodate both sides.
Is there anything in this new TOD zone that you will not be allowed to do, which you were allowed to do under the old zoning? So if you had a 2-family and you wanted to go to ZBA for an exception for something, where it was granted under the T zone, it's probably not going to be granted under TOD. How will those people be treated under the new regulations or under what they were grandfathered in because they still own that 2-family or that 3-family house?
Well, Alderman, if you're
going,
if you're going to the Zoning Board of Appeals, you're already trying to do something that's not guaranteed to you anyway.
Well, it could be done by special exception. It could be done by.
But you're still going to the Zoning Board
Exactly.
of Appeals, and you're attempting to show that you have a hardship, and because of that hardship, you should be allowed to do X, Y,
Let me
Z.
rephrase. Is there anything which you would have been able to get changed because there is a provision that allowed it under the old under any of these old zones that have been taken away and will not be permitted under the new one?
While you're grandfathered, you're grandfathered. So if you have a
So only with a change of ownership will that change?
Right. If you have a 2-family, a change of use.
Change of use, exactly. Okay.
If you have a
Not a change of
2-family, it
ownership?
remains a 2-family.
No, sorry. So it goes with. So I'm sorry, Your Honor. I don't mean to be coming back in with the question. So the use goes with the land, not necessarily. So if the property changes hands, but still is a 2-family or a 3-family, that clause, I mean, that usage is still grandfathered.
It's a change of use. That would trigger, they'd have to abandon the use of the property, and then it would revert to whatever the present zoning.
So with a change of ownership, that automatically will.
No, it's still being used.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman. Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. Are there any other questions or comments? We will vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I have a request for a bathroom break, recess. Can we take a 5-minute recess? Really? Okay, we're back. Recess is over. 9:18. For the record, 9:18. Alderman Polkowski.
Thank you, Your Honor. For the record, recess was my favorite class in school. I'd like to make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number 8.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Giantonio.
This resolution is in regards to our zoning subcommittee that met yesterday. We had a majority vote on a favorable recommendation for this. I believe there is 1 no for the record. This is regarding TOD EM1 zone, transit-oriented development, East Street primary district, and TOD EM2 zone, transit-oriented development, East Main Street secondary district. These are also rezonings to spur activity and economic development in the areas of East Main Street fast track stations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does any alderman have any questions or comments on this? Same thing, just different area. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 9, Alderman Polkowski.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number 9.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Giantonio.
Resolution number 9 is also in regards to transit-oriented development, and this is all surrounding the East Street station. 1 primary district, 1 secondary district, replacing some of the existing outdated zoning in the area around the CT Fast Track East Street station. This was also discussed in zoning subcommittee. I believe it was also majority was in favor of this. I believe there was also 1 no for the record, but yep, this is just something to spur more economic activity around the fast track stations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alderman Polkowski. Again, same exact thing, just different area. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Your Honor, may
Alderman Sawyer.
I will make it brief, Your Honor, I promise you. I wanted to really, because there were 7, 8, and 9 are tied into each other so much, I think it is important to, first of all, commend Alderman Carlozzi for enhancing further the informational efforts that the city has done with the TOD. And I think it's very important to understand we've had multiple efforts, opportunities. Council members are available to speak to any members in the community, and since it is Nutmeg Television, I'm sure that Alderman Carlozzi's questions be well-founded throughout the community. So I certainly encourage the adoption. This is going to be a great thing for the city. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
See, if you didn't say anything, he wouldn't have stood up.
I really would have. Your Honor.
Alderman Carlozzi.
Thank you, Your Honor. You know, I did want to, Alderman Polkowski made note that it was a majority with one no. I was the no on all those last night. But what I do want to say, and the reason why I'm not voting no tonight, is, first of all, Mr. Malinowski answered some of my questions. I'm a big proponent of us doing things that moves our city forward when it comes to economic development, to the extent that it does not harm the neighborhood. I've been on city planning, involved in city planning since, I believe it was back in the 80s. Thank you, 87 as well? I believe it was quite some time ago, Your Honor.
Good year.
And one of the issues that we have in the city, and it's illegal, is we've had spot zoning all over the city. All over the city. We cannot have a comprehensive plan on zoning because it's a spot here. This is a B, this is a T, this is special exception with an I or an I1 or an I2. I mean, we have if you ever looked at our zoning map, it's the greatest quilt out there, but there's all these different colors everywhere. Those all represent different zones for those particular individual properties. Well, that's not how you effectively zone a city. And so I've never been in favor of that. I'm also very reluctant to change zones on people's property to the extent that it may harm their property. These, people have lived in their homes for 50, 60 years, and to just go ahead and do these massive zone changes, we had someone who said, why is my house included? I've never really, I don't like that. But to the extent that this causes no harm to any of the existing uses of the properties, I'm okay with that. And I think it is a step forward. People complained last night, and there were quite a few that were here to complain. And I voted no because I just didn't feel, I didn't know exactly what we had done to educate. And that's why I asked the questions tonight, Your Honor, because I knew that there were sessions specifically addressed to this. It's been another year, because we were ready to vote on this last year. It was another year that we took for this. And I think it's time that this matter is taken care of and we can move forward. I think the people that spoke last night probably spoke because they just A, didn't participate in any of those informational sessions, and B, didn't maybe understand exactly what's being done. But their property and their use of their property is not going to be harmed, in my opinion, with this. There really is no cost for us to push this matter forward. We have the busway there. We heard from Alderman Smedley on how much that busway is used constantly. And we want to do something to enhance economic development in the city. That's why, and we've seen it now with the busway coming through. So to the extent that we can move forward with economic development, which I've been for ever since I remember, I don't know how long, maybe even when I wasn't even, I know specifically even when I wasn't on the council, I think we had some missteps with economic development. I'm not going to hold these matters up because I don't think this harms the neighborhood whatsoever. And I feel this actually helps quite a few of those neighbors and may actually increase some of their home value, some of their property values. So that's why I've been voting yes tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Alderman. And I think we should all realize, too, that the city is actually setting an example for the rest of the state when it comes to these types of zoning matters in terms of promoting economic development around mass transit. There's other communities that have the opportunity to do this that are refusing to do it. And so we are, and I commend everybody here tonight for moving forward with this, because other communities are going to start seeing the impacts and the benefits that the city of New Britain is having, and they're going to be probably a little upset that they didn't move quicker on doing what we're doing tonight. So I digress. I'm sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Sanders. I'm sorry, we forgot about you. I'm sorry. For the record, to show Alderman Sanders has re-entered the building. Alderwoman Black. Resolution number 10.
Resolution number 10, February 2017 is Black History Month. Whereas,
Can I have a motion, please, Alderwoman?
Oh,
I need
I'm trying to hurry up. Carlos done took up so much time. I make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number 10.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Hargreaves.
February 2017 is Black History Month. Whereas since 1926, a son of a former slave and coal miner as a child, Dr. Carter G. Woodson conducted a week-long celebration to commemorate individual and events which portray significant impact on the African American life and history. And whereas since 1976, Black History Month has been celebrated nationally during the entire month of February. And whereas the city of New Britain is proud to be home of such a diversity and distinguished population and recognize the accomplishments African Americans have made. And now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of New Britain proclaim February 2017 as Black History Month and encourages residents, public officials, and all individuals to observe this month with the appropriate ceremonies, programs, and activities to celebrate the rich legacy of African America and to honor the remarkable contribution they have made to progress our community. Urge adoption.
Thank you very much, Alderwoman. Alderman Rosado.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to, in addition to just recognizing African Americans for this month, I also want to give a big up to all the African American leaders in our city council, Alderman Daniel Davis, Alderwoman Shirley Black, Alderman Tramel Collins, and Alderman Jarrell Hargraves. I want to acknowledge them also for the many things they've done in our community and you know, the successes that they had to even be in this council in the first place. So I want to acknowledge them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. I would also like to add Alderman Sanchez to that list as well. He's half. He counts.
I urge adoption.
You never hear.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman Black, resolution number 11.
Okay, I make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number 11.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Rosado.
February 2017 as American Heart Month. Coronavirus disease include heart disease and strokes, account for 1 in every 3 deaths in the United States, equaling 2,200 deaths per day. And whereas to raise awareness to this deadly disease, February has been designated as American Heart Month. And whereas during the month of February, it is encouraged to focus on preventive measures to fight this disease, such as exercising at least 30 minutes a day, avoid smoking, and eating a hearty, healthy diet. Now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of New Britain proclaim February 2017 as American Heart Month and encourage its residents, public officials, and all individuals to observe this month with the appropriate program and activity to help promote awareness to this cause and encourage healthy living practice. Urge adoption.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Any other questions or comments? Alderman Rosado.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to just echo how important this is to me, the fact that I've lost people in my family to heart disease, and my aunt, you know, rest in peace to her, who just died this past week because of heart disease. But I really wanted to take this time to just, for us to just keep Dave Zielinski in our hearts, in our prayers, and Miriam Garassi at the same time. I know he's going through his own situation, and so I just want to, bring that out, that we keep them in our prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. As you can see, all of the aldermen are wearing red tonight. I'm not, but I have a red rug that I'm going to put right now. So at Alderwoman Shirley Black's request, so I'm red for this.
The mayor said that nobody loved her. That's why she didn't wear red. Because it's Valentine's. So,
I'm good right now.
loves.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Resolution number 12 goes to Alderman Naples.
Your Honor, I move to accept and adopt resolution number 12.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Sanders.
This is
Your Honor, may I,
Oh, yes.
I need to step out and recuse myself. This is a project that I will be potentially working on for the Public Works Department.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is a street infrastructure bond budget amendment for the reconstruction of Hart Street. It's part of federal grant funds for the urban component of the Federal Surface Transportation Program. The Resolution 13 is a similar one for another area. I urge adoption.
Thank you very much, sir. Any questions or comments on this acceptance of grant funds to help defray the cost of the project? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 13, Alderman Naples, and let the record reflect, Alderman Polkowski has re-entered the building.
Your Honor, I move to accept and adopt resolution number 13.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Davis.
This is another streetscape improvement bond budget amendment. This time it's for the Columbus Boulevard Safety Improvements Phase 4. I urge adoption.
Thank you very much, Alderman. Any questions or comments on this acceptance of funds? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 14 goes to Alderman Smedley.
Thank you, Your Honor. Motion to accept and adopt resolution number 14.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Carlozzi.
Thank you. This is a budget transfer and appropriation / barter for the police department. They are looking to purchase a trailer to transport traffic safety equipment, which would be their cones and/or traffic barriers for the police department. They currently don't have a vehicle to do this, and they do have a large amount of equipment that needs to be transferred. And when I say it's a barter, they're working with Public Works to trade off some equipment that they need in exchange for this. So. They are working together to make this happen. I urge adoption.
Thank you, Alderman. Chief has been here for the whole meeting. If anyone wants to ask Chief a question, or how about, you know what, Chief? How about you just come up and explain it yourself, just because you've been here? And yes, we're just gonna.
Okay. Good evening. It's a grant. We're accepting a $3,000 grant, and the balance of the cost of the trailer is about $1,800, and we work with Public Works, Alderman, like you said. We have a tire balancing, some tire balancing equipment in the new PD at 10 Chestnut. It's never been used. Public Works, City Yard, they can use it, so we are bartering with them for the balance of that trailer.
Look at that. Any other questions for Chief Wardle?
No.
Good night, sir. It's a budget transfer, so we're going to do a roll call. I'm sorry.
Discussion.
Sorry, Alderman Hargraves. I didn't see it.
I just wanted to comment, that's a great way of government working together. A lot of times the different agencies are in their own different pockets, but when we come together, we can save money and make it a more efficient city.
Thank you very much. I apologize, sir, for not seeing your hand.
Here.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Alderpersons Giantonio.
Yes.
Smedley.
Yes.
Carlozzi.
Yes.
Black.
Yes.
Collins.
Yes, for the record.
Davis.
Yes.
Hargraves.
Yes.
Naples.
Yes.
Polkowski.
Yes.
Rosato.
Yes.
Salvio.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Salerno.
Yes.
13-0, Your Honor.
Motion carries. It's late. Smedley. Alderman Smedley, you are up.
Apologize.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's all right. Motion to accept and refer item number 15 to Administration on Finance and Law.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Sanders. Davis. Seconded by Alderman Davis.
Thank you, Your Honor. The purpose of this is some language change and to increase some of the fees associated with fixed food establishments in the city. This will be discussed in our committee at length, So I do urge adoption, or referral at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the referral? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 16 has been withdrawn, so we move on to item number 17, which will go to Alderman Collins.
Thank you, Your Honor. Make a motion to accept and adopt resolution number 17.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Rosado.
Thank you. Resolution 17. This resolution allows the receipt of local prevention council funding in the amount of $7,141.55 from the Substance Abuse Action Council. These funds will be used to support alcohol, tobacco, and bullying prevention activities, including the Take Back the Streets, Abilities Walk, and Bike Safety Day. There is no match, I repeat, there is no match obligation on part of the city for these funds, so I urge adoption.
Thank you very much, sir. These are done by our Community Services Department. All of these events, which will be coming up this year, we will get the alderpersons all the dates to them as soon as they're scheduled. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 18, a very exciting one. Alderman Naples.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to accept and adopt resolution number 18.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Polkowski.
This is a resolution to authorize the mayor to enter in an agreement with Great Lakes Recycling Incorporated, doing business as So Simple Recycling, to implement a soft recyclables curbside collection program. Mr. Moriarty is here to answer questions.
Is he?
Yes, he is.
Oh, I can't see.
I know some of us have questions about whether it's going to involve
See, when you
another-
guys sit back there, you
another
hide
trash
from
can
me,
or not.
and I know you do it on purpose. Sorry,
I
Alderman.
urge adoption.
Thank you, Alderman.
Give it a little explanation about it?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do that. Let's do that.
Okay, this came up as we were looking at the Smart Waste Initiative. Also had an opportunity for this company looking to expand in Connecticut. And what they do is they do a curbside collection of soft recyclables, which are textiles, clothes, blankets, small appliances. They do it at no cost to us. What they do is they actually provide a bag. The bags that they likely use are these pink bags. They drop it off at your property, and you just leave it out on your recycle day. They pick up a bag at your property, they'll drop off another two. So it's a really easy thing for residents. It's really the easiest thing basically that we could happen. There's like very few things are just win-win. There's no downside. There's like no downside to this at all. We get revenue on these materials, and we don't have to pay for them going into our trash, because one of the few areas that we actually can save money is through increasing the amount of recyclables. I mean, we still have a lot of recyclable material that's in our trash, and if we could get that out, then we do have deferred tip fees. So this gives us an opportunity to remove materials from our waste stream. Don't have to pay the tip fee, don't have to haul them. An added benefit that's going on with this particular project that's not even mentioned in the resolution is that the company also is looking for a central location, so they're already working with us. Already had meetings with Bill Carroll trying to find them warehouse space. The first two communities that they'd be working with are likely New Britain and Bristol, but they'd be trying to expand to all bunch of the. I mean, it's such a great program, so communities are going to jump on board with this, and we're hoping that their Connecticut hub is based out of New Britain, and it's looking like it will happen. So.
Good job.
Spill the beans. Alderman Naples?
I just have a couple questions through you. Are these bags going to cost anything?
This costs us nothing. We get revenue. I mean, just it's a penny a pound. It's not a ton of revenue. It'll be.
No, I mean, so we get the bags for free. We put them out. Do we put them out with the trash, next to the trash?
You put it
on our
out next to your recycle
regular
bin
collection day
on your recycle day. So it's a bi-weekly collection.
Oh, okay.
And it's on your trash day, so it should be. Once people start getting used to it, it should be pretty easy to remember. It's very convenient. We will go through some publicity for it. I mean, again, it's like recycling is really one of a few areas that we can save some money still. When we did single stream recycling in the city, we saved a lot of money. Public Works is making our budgets for several years off of recycling and reducing our trash tonnage. We squeeze everything we can out of that program. There are some methods we've looked at, the Smart Waste program, and through the study, and you see some news about West Hartford. They're also looking at that. They might implement it. That's pay as you throw. That's a bag-based program, but it's a lot more involved than what we're talking about. This is just simple. This is no cost to the city, no cost to residents, just the ability to get rid of materials like soft recyclables, toys, clothes, blankets, things that you really, there's an easier way to dispose of them that doesn't cost us anything. So it's.
Thank you. Things that are heavy when wet. I'm happy to see New Britain leading the way with this. I strongly support it.
Thank you. Alderman Carlozzi's question?
Thank you, Your Honor, through you to Mr. Moriarty. So I heard you say, and I want to be clear, no cost to the city and no cost to the residents for these bags.
No
Correct.
cost. City will get some revenue, and
Right.
we'll have costs diverted from materials that were going in the waste stream.
Okay.
So, and then no cost to residents at all.
So the bags would be provided, and as they use them, they will have more delivered to them.
Yep.
Correct. And but it does not go into the blue can. It goes separately.
Separate bag.
Now-
this is a whole new thing. This is not material. This isn't single stream recycling. They're recyclable materials, but they're not things that are collected under single stream currently.
What if residents? I mean, so I'm sure we're gonna have a program to educate our residents about what this is all about and to encourage them to use it. Will the costs for all that be paid for by this company to put out all those educational materials? Will the city be? I mean, what's the educational process, Your Honor?
May I?
Yes, you may.
We have not gotten to the point where we're going to figure that out yet. This is step one tonight with this resolution, allowing us to even figure out a contract with them and what it might look like.
Okay.
From there, then we have to figure out what the educational campaign would be. I don't think that it would be much of a cost to us. We can do so much via social media and direct targeting online. However, we can also utilize our mailers that we send home already in tax bills to educate people, and we can spend some money on some advertising, which we already have built into the budget. So I don't think it would be an inordinate cost to educate folks.
This program also is and this program isn't something that was even on Connecticut Deep's radar. This is something that just came in, but it'll be a big win for them because they're trying to achieve a 60% recycling rate by 2024, and we're already sitting on a $40,000 grant from them for basically education. I would be willing to bet they would let us use a portion of $40,000 for education component of this program.
Well, I mean, I was much younger, but I remember when we first got into the recycling, it took a lot of education for the city to get people into using the cans and how they were using them as opposed to the old, aluminum trash can that you may have had or plastic bags that you put out on the curb. So whenever we do this, I know, we had those yellow tubs for a while. So whenever we do something like this, there's a whole process that Public Works is going to go into with the community so that everyone knows what's going on. What if someone doesn't participate and continues to throw their textiles and blankets into the blue can or even into the brown can? I mean, that's going to probably happen. And
Public shaming.
It's just education. Mr. Moriarty does not like that. He shakes his head.
I mean, if it doesn't happen, we're in the exact. If no one actually did that and no one used this program at all, we wouldn't be in any different situation than we're in today. So, I mean.
No, I'm sure people will, and people will use it overwhelmingly. But I'm sure there will be a lot of people very reluctant to make any change. They probably still don't like the blue can. I mean, so I'm sure there are people that still don't like the blue cans out there. But, I mean, so it's going to take a while to educate them. We're not going to be penalizing them if they still throw their stuff into the blue.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Penalty.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Alderman Sanders?
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you, just one quick question. This is voluntary, isn't it? You would call and request a bag if you needed it, or is this will this be implemented?
I think
as standard?
we're still and we're still working with the company on the rollout. This is just allowing us to enter the contract with them. And the thing is, like, if they're trying to capture these materials, some of the materials have value, some don't have as much value, but it's, so I know they want the materials. That's why they're coming into the city. So they're going to try and get the bags to the people as easily as possible. Why they're not just putting a container somewhere and they're going curbside to pick up the materials. They want to have, they want to make it as easy as possible for people to get these materials to them, so that they're going to get you the bags that you need and make it as easy a process on a resident, because they need materials to sustain their business. And the company has a pretty aggressive growth model, so they're not here to just mess around. They're driving our trash routes. I mean, they want to be driving our trash routes and picking up a lot of materials. Otherwise, they're paying for somebody to just drive around and pick up a couple bags. It wouldn't make sense economically for them.
Right, thank you. I'd just like to point out that, and thank Mr. Moriarty, you bring so much to the city in the form of grants, and you're constantly looking for ways to save money, and it's much appreciated. And I know that, as we have the Smart City initiative, I think really pushing an aggressive smart recycling campaign after listening to this would be something we should all consider working on. That'll help get the word out. I mean, I fill up my recycle bin. I sometimes I have to, put some stuff in the garbage because I fill it up every week.
Put in your neighbors.
They fill them up too, but it is a true savings. And someone in construction, I have to pay by the ton to get rid of materials, so I know how expensive it is. And the more we could take out of our regular trash pickup, the more we could save, which can again help with the budget. So just thanks again, Mark, for all your work. It's just really appreciated. Thank you.
Again, first community in Connecticut to do this, if we do this tonight. How about that? Awesome. Another one. Alderman Rosado.
Your Honor, through you to Mr. Moriarty. Thank you, Mr. Moriarty, for your hard work, and I want to echo a lot of the things that Alderman Sanders just alluded to. Now, being that the recycling rate is 26%, as it says in the resolution, that Connecticut has a goal of reaching 60% by 2024, how realistic are those expectations for you? Like, do you believe that's attainable, considering where we are right now?
Let's see. We'd have to do some really aggressive programs. I mean, the Smart Waste program that I know West Hartford's considering, we did a study. I mean, that does a 40% reduction of your waste, your residential waste. If programs like that get implemented, you have probably a better chance of accomplishing that. It is important on the state level because the locations for disposing waste on the state, the Hartford plant that the majority of the trash in the state goes for is probably 5 years left. The Wallingford Trash Energy plant just closed, and 5 of the large communities that delivered waste there are probably going to be going to Bristol. There's so little capacity that those 5 communities are going to be paying about $30 more a ton. Good chance more than we pay. It's not for sure yet, but so I think we're going to all be economically motivated to lower our trash volumes. That might help us reach that 60%. But it's an aggressive goal for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? This is cool stuff. We're very excited. We'll keep everybody posted. I promise that our marketing skills will come into high gear as we need to do this.
With the blue bin.
The city wins when you use the blue bin. Don't worry, we're already thinking about taglines and things like that. We got this. All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Giantonio.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to accept and refer item 19 to the Committee on Planning, Zoning, and Housing.
Second.
Seconded by Don Naples. Alderman Naples, sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. This has to do with the proposed amendment to the Code of Ordinances to require the filing of an as-built Class A2 T2 survey after completion of construction. I really don't know what this is, so I look forward to talking about it in committee so I can learn. Alderman Sanders tried to give me a crash course in it last Monday night with Alderman Smedley, but it didn't work, so we'll talk more about it in committee.
The committee is for those things. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the referral signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution, Alderman Giantonio.
Thank you, Your Honor. Make a motion to accept and refer item number 20 to the zoning subcommittee and the city planning commission.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Salerno.
Thank you, Your Honor. This has to do with a proposed tax increment financing district for downtown. I know there will be public hearings and multiple subcommittee meetings where we will discuss further, and I urge referral.
Thank you very much for the referral. This is also another item that was paid for by grant money, and we would also be the first city in the state of Connecticut to implement such a district if it does pass, leading the way on a lot of things. Alderman Salerno.
Yes, just a comment. Some of the first initial meetings I was able to attend on the tax increment financing district, and there are many business people who are really involved in it. They're really interested in it, and I think that's going to make a big difference for the community in terms of this effort.
Very cool. Thank you very much. All those in favor of the referral signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn made by everyone, seconded by everyone. Except for, I'm sorry, Alderman Carlosi's a no for the record.
No for the record.
We are adjourned at 9:51 PM.